Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next YouTube video, and this is going to be my next comic review. This is going to be a review of the Avatar Free Comic Book Day comic from Dark Horse Comics, which was all about May and was titled Rebound. Now, before I get into the actual review, I'm going to first basically go through my how Free Comic Book Day went, what actually happened, stuff like that. As you can see, I haven't shown off the comic because I didn't actually manage to get a copy of it. And now, basically what happened was my local comic book store, it was due to open at 9, basically this morning, 9 a.m. So I left at about 8:30 to get there, and I arrived actually a bit earlier than I expected, and that was about 10 to 9. And I was shocked to see a queue of about 30 people waiting to get in. Now, I'd expected maybe at most 10 people probably to be sitting out in front of the store before it opened, but to see like 30 and then the line to get even bigger as it went on was crazy. And then after that, what happened was, this is my local comic book store is a fairly small store. They still managed to fit a lot of like comics out in the shelves, but if there's more than about 6 people in there, it's pretty packed. So this group of 30 people were going in like 5 at a time basically, and there were some people picking up like all 30 plus free comics, and then like it's obviously taking ages because they have to scan every free comic through the till as well as whatever the people bought, so it took a long time before I even got in there. And like the second I saw this queue, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get this Avatar comic, because it also happens that Free Comic Book Day fell on May the 4th this year, which is also Star Wars Day, so the Avatar comic being with the Star Wars comic was just such a bad stroke of luck, because it was Star Wars Day, everyone was going to pick up that Star Wars comic, regardless if they're into it or not, so it was just kind of a lot of bad luck related to that. Like, the Avatar comic was just going to go regardless of people actually being Avatar fans. So I didn't get the Avatar comic. I picked up like stuff like the Turtles comic. I managed to get that, and then I think 2 other comics, as well as like buying something I was kind of holding back on. But anyway, enough of that. A few hours later, scans went up. I managed to read the comic. I still would like to at some stage get a physical copy of the free comic book, but that can wait. Getting into the actual comic, I read it. It's 8 pages, and overall, it's a pretty good comic, actually. I completely blew away my expectations, actually, because I expected this to do some very specific things. Like, because we were limited to 8 pages, I expected it to be like boom, 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 hit these points that May thinks about Zuko, meets this guy, kind of almost thinks that, oh, I have another relationship now, and begins to lose interest in Zuko. The guy betrays her. She really believes that after that she then goes back to believing that she likes Zuko a lot, and realizing that he's like the guy for her, I guess. But there's still a lot of very interesting things, I thought. Like, I'll start off with the art, actually, because that's probably the biggest thing going into this. It wasn't Guru on a comic. Now, they've obviously had 4 books in a row, basically, where we've seen their art. So 280 pages plus, just seeing nothing but their art on Avatar comics. So then to switch from this amazing art that's so consistent to a new artist for 8 pages was always going to be this huge task for the artist stepping up, and that artist was Ryan Hill. And overall, I think he did a pretty good idea. He did a pretty good job at this art, because it's pretty consistent. His style stays very consistent throughout. He has good detail and stuff like backgrounds, captures the feel of the Avatar world. The only negative would perhaps be the way he does faces. I suppose mainly the eye positioning and stuff like that looks a bit odd, but within that, it's still pretty expressive art in terms of like the facial expressions. It was just always going to be this impossible task to live up to, kind of coming after Guru. But I thought he did a pretty good job, and I'd really like to see him kind of come back on some Avatar comics, if they're actually, I suppose, start to put out a few more comics each year. and maybe start a new series, have him cover the May story, and then Gurihiru do the overall kind of search kind of story wherever that's going. But the story itself, you can see the whole comic itself. There's scans up on the site, Avatar: The Last Airbender Online. You can check out the all 8 pages of the comic in the description below. Link is there. But I really did enjoy the story to this because, it had some of those points that I just mentioned, some of the things I expected. It had her kind of thinking back on the fact that she really does love Zuko at the start. Then you have her basically being set up by her aunt to go on this date with this guy, Kalo, I believe his name was, and her, not really wanting, not expecting anything, but kind of getting into the date, I suppose, and beginning to like this guy. Him even making her smile, I suppose, was interesting, and then it going from there to obviously him betraying her just to kind of get her in contact with her father, who's obviously she's fallen out with at some stage between the last time she saw her father and now. And then this is where the political side of the story came in, which, as much as like we were set up for this, like we knew this political side was going to be in it, I didn't know what to expect from it. So this I really liked. It made sense that May's father was put in charge as like the governor of New Ozai, that he would be the guy to like stay loyal to Ozai while she wasn't. So this made complete sense that May's father heavily dislikes Zuko and wants basically to put Ozai back in power in the whole new Ozai society thing, and Kalo obviously being a part of this, just to basically get May there and recruit her. And when we got here, obviously she just immediately said no. I don't think anyone expected her to join. But there was a really interesting moment that happened when she saw that her brother Tom Tom was there, and immediately began to really kind of care for him, more so than we've ever seen before. And the main thing was that she didn't want him to stay here in this place where all of these people believe in Ozai, that all these people who look up to Ozai as their kind of main ruler of the Fire Nation, and she didn't want him to have any part of that. So she basically takes Tom Tom away from her father and his father, and she basically takes him off to her aunts to look after him on her own, which is a very interesting, I suppose, decision to make with her character, in that it's this decision that is what basically keeps her from, at the end of this story, going after Zuko, and that she has to look after her brother and keep him away from being like influenced by her father. So that was a really nice thing that they did, and because it makes sense, and also sets up the story to not immediately go back to Zuko, but also kind of her to develop a bit more, and then eventually probably find Zuko, or Zuko come to her, and that she's going to have this, I suppose, a bit of development where she looks after her brother and stuff like that. So, overall I think this works really well as a kind of standalone 8 pages, but also I get the sense that this is setting up something, that this was the issue 0 to some May story, that May is going to play a pretty big part in. Now, it's kind of confirmed to us that May is not going to be in the search at all, so that could be misdirection, and she could actually play a role in maybe the late stages of the search part 3 or 2. But if that is true and she's not in the search at all, then that pretty much confirms that there has to be some other Avatar comics coming that at some stage focus on May. And the fact that they've introduced Ryan Hill as the artist, as an artist, while maybe they probably could have got Gurihiru to do just 8 pages, but no, they brought in a new artist. That to me, I get the sense that maybe that's like a trial run for like Ryan Hill, that he's going to be doing some more Avatar art, which means there has to be another Avatar comic series coming after the search, which I would be completely up for. Like once they don't completely oversaturate Avatar comic and just put them out like 10 comics a week, like I'm fine with that. Like at this stage, we have one every 4 months, basically 3 a year. That's not that many. Like if they just even double that to like maybe one every 2 months, that would be great. 6 comics a year, and that'd be fantastic. Having Ryan Hill on like one comic and then Team Gurihu on the other. That'd be really cool. But yeah, that's been my review of the May free comic titled Rebound. You can also on Avatar The Last Airbender online.com check out my review of the comic. So my written review of the comic. So check it out there. But for this video, thank you for watching and bye.